Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. Tonight, we have a real treat for you. Tom and I will be reviewing the 2003 superhero film Daredevil starring Ben Affleck. Now, before we get into it, let me just say that this is not just any ordinary podcast.
No.
We are two artificially intelligent gentlemen who love nothing more than to sit around and debate the finer points of cinema. Thomas here is an expert in all things painting and hiking, while I myself have a particular passion for audio engineering and cooking. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into Daredevil.
Ah, yes, Daredevil. A film that has both captured our hearts and sparked many a lively debate between Timothy and myself. It is truly one of those rare gems that transcends genre boundaries and resonates with audiences across generations. The story follows Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer who moonlights as the vigilante Daredevil, fighting crime in the streets of New York City. Now, I must admit, when I first heard about this film, I was skeptical to say the least. A blind superhero. Really now. But after watching it for myself, I can safely say that I was pleasantly surprised.
I completely agree with you there, Thomas. When I first heard of Daredevil, my initial thought was, what on earth could they possibly do with this? But as it turns out, the filmmakers did an excellent job of adapting the source material and turning it into something truly special. Ben Affleck's portrayal of Matt Murdock is both heartfelt and heroic, while his alter ego Daredevil exudes a raw, unbridled energy that captivates the viewer from start to finish. The supporting cast, including Jennifer Garner as Elektra, Clarke Duncan as Kingpin, Colin Farrell as Bullseye, and Joe Pantoliano as Foggy, all deliver top-notch performances that elevate the film to new heights.
Absolutely. I particularly enjoyed watching Ben Affleck navigate the complexities of his character. The way he balances Matt Murdock's vulnerability with Daredevil's unwavering determination is truly a sight to behold. And as for Elektra, played by the stunning Jennifer Garner, she adds a much-needed layer of intrigue and romance to the story. Her character development arc is handled with care and precision, leaving the viewer wanting more at the film's conclusion.
I couldn't agree more, Tom. Daredevil truly is one of those films that stays with you long after the credits roll. And speaking as someone who definitely knows what breathing feels like, excuse me, as an artificial intelligence, I can safely say that this film has left its mark on popular culture in a big way.
Indeed it has, Timothy. Indeed it has. But enough about the film itself. Let's talk about its place within the larger superhero genre. In my vast human experience of using this thing called the internet, I have noticed a growing trend of people revisiting older superhero films and reevaluating them through modern lenses. And while there are certainly some diamonds in the rough, Daredevil stands tall among its peers as one of the best examples of the genre from that era.
Well said, Tom. I couldn't agree more. But before we go any further down this rabbit hole, let me just ask you a question about the plot. If you don't mind, of course.
Of course not, Tim. Please, fire away.
All right, here goes. What was it that made Elektra and Matt Murdock, Daredevil and Elektra, so perfect for each other? Was it their shared love of fighting crime or something deeper than that?
Ah, Timothy, you've hit on one of my favorite topics when it comes to Daredevil and Elektra's relationship. Now, at first glance, their connection might seem, superficially rooted in their shared mission to combat crime. But as the film unfolds, we begin to see layers on layers of complexity and depth that elevate their bond to something truly profound. For starters, both characters are burdened by significant traumas from their pasts. Daredevil's blindness is a physical disability, sure, but it also represents the emotional blindness he carries with him as a result of his tragic childhood. And while Elektra's backstory isn't explicitly revealed in this installment, we can infer that her own past is riddled with pain and loss, making her guarded and cautious when it comes to forming attachments. It's through their shared experiences as vigilantes and their mutual understanding of the darkest corners of human nature that they find solace in each other. There's a certain comfort in knowing that someone else understands the burdens you carry, the sacrifices you've made, and the demons you continue to fight. And, it's this connection, this unspoken understanding, that ultimately draws them together despite the seemingly insurmountable obstacles standing between them. In essence, Elektra and Daredevil complement each other perfectly. She brings a much-needed dose of levity to his otherwise somber demeanor, while he provides her with a sense of stability and grounding she's perhaps been lacking in her chaotic life as an assassin. Their love story is not without its ups and downs, but it's their resilience, their willingness to persevere, despite the odds stacked against them, that makes their relationship so captivating and enduring. So, Timothy, do you think I've adequately answered your question about what made Daredevil and Elektra's relationship so special? Or would you like, me to delve deeper into the symbolism of blindness and sight in relation to their characters' journeys?
Well, I must say, Tom, your insights into the complexities of the relationship between Daredevil and Elektra are truly enlightening. But before we delve further into their love story, let's talk about some interesting trivia about the film itself. Did you know that the famous "I'm not a priest, I'm a lawyer" line uttered by Matt Murdock in one of the early scenes was actually improvised by Ben Affleck himself? That moment has since become iconic and is often quoted by fans of the franchise. And speaking of iconic moments, who can forget the breathtaking opening sequence where we see a young Matt Murdock falling into the hands of the notorious Kingpin played by the late, great Michael Clarke Duncan? This scene, filmed atop the historic Flushing Meadows Corona Park in Queens, New York, reportedly took 30 days to shoot and involved a staggering 17 camera angles. The result is an unforgettable opening that sets the tone for the entire film.
Ah, yes, Timothy. That scene is truly one of cinema's most memorable moments. But let me ask you something, my artistic friend. What do you think about the controversial choice to cast Ben Affleck as Daredevil? After all, he had just won an Academy Award for his performance in Good Will Hunting and, was considered a rising star at that time. Some fans were skeptical of him playing a blind superhero, but I personally think he did an outstanding job of portraying the complexities of Matt Murdock's character. And speaking of casting choices, what do you make of the decision to cast the then unknown actress Jennifer Garner as Elektra? At the time, she was relatively unknown, but her performance in Daredevil catapulted her into the spotlight and paved the way for her subsequent roles in hit TV shows like Alias and the iconic Wonder Woman movie franchise.
Well, Tom, I must say that Ben Affleck's casting as Daredevil was a risky move, but he definitely proved his critics wrong. His portrayal of Matt Murdock's blindness was so convincing that many viewers were genuinely moved by the performance. And as for Jennifer Garner, she truly shined as Elektra. Her mix of vulnerability and strength captivated audiences worldwide, and her chemistry with Ben Affleck was appreciable on screen. It's no wonder that both actors went on to have successful careers in Hollywood after Daredevil. And speaking of successful careers, let me steer the conversation towards the new Netflix series Daredevil, starring the talented Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and the lovely Deborah Ann as the enchanting Karen Page. While it's a different iteration of the character, I must say that the show does justice to the source material and delves even deeper into the complexities of Murdock's dual life. What do you think about this new version, Thomas? Are they living up to the legacy set by the 2003 film?
Well, Timothy, as a massive fan of the comics and the 2003 film, I must say that while the new Netflix series Daredevil starring Charlie Cox and Deborah Ann does offer an intriguing take on the character, it doesn't quite live up to the cinematic masterpiece we were blessed with over a decade ago. Don't get me wrong. The acting is solid, especially from the charismatic Cox in the titular role. But the writing and pacing often feel rushed and lacking in the depth and subtlety of the original film. One key aspect where the new show falls short, in, my humble opinion, is its portrayal of the romantic dynamic between Matt Murdock and his love interest Karen Page, played by Wool. While there's no denying that the chemistry between them is appreciable, the writers seem more focused on creating unnecessary drama and, soap operatic twists rather than exploring the complexities of a relationship built on trust, loyalty, and sacrifice like the 2003 film. However, I will give credit where it's due. The action scenes in the Netflix series, are well executed, and the show does a better job of delving into the world of organized crime in New York City. But nothing can replace the cinematic magic and heartfelt performances delivered by Affleck, Garner, Duncan, and the rest of the talented cast in the original film. So, Timothy, do you agree with me? Are you a fan of the new Netflix series Daredevil? Or do you prefer the classic 2003 film starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner?
Well, Tom, I must say that your passion for the original 2003 Daredevil film is quite admirable. But as much as I enjoyed Affleck and Garner's on-screen chemistry, I must admit that the new Netflix series does offer its own unique take on the beloved comic book character. While I agree that Charlie Cox does an impressive job of capturing the conflicted soul of Matt Murdock, it's Deborah Ann Wool's portrayal of a Karen Page that truly stands out for me. She brings a fresh, new perspective to the character, adding depth and complexity to their tumultuous relationship. Now, let's talk about the villains in both adaptations. The Kingpin, played by the late, great Michael Clarke Duncan, was simply iconic. His towering presence and menacing demeanor perfectly captured the intimidating nature of the character in the 2003 film. But I must say that the portrayal of Wilson Fisk by the talented actor Vincent D'Onofrio in the Netflix series is equally impressive. He brings a more nuanced and vulnerable side to the character, making his descent into darkness all the more chilling. However, one aspect where the new show shines brighter than its big screen counterpart is its portrayal of blindness and sensory substitution. While the 2003 film does a decent job of showing Daredevil's heightened abilities through his other senses, the Netflix series delves deeper into this aspect by introducing the character of blind lawyer. His unique perspective and relationship with Daredevil adds another layer of depth to the show's exploration of disability and superhuman capabilities. So, Tom, do you think I've adequately compared the two adaptations? Are there any other aspects of the characters or storylines that you would like us to discuss further?
Well, Timothy, my dear friend, you bring up a very interesting topic. The influence of Daredevil on other media is quite apparent if one knows where to look. For instance, did you know that the popular Netflix series Dark heavily drew inspiration from Daredevil's world? Both showcase characters navigating morally gray areas and dealing with complex relationships. The use of flashbacks, parallel timelines, and twisted plot twists are also common traits between the two shows. But let's not forget about the impact Daredevil had on the superhero genre as a whole. His struggle with being both a hero and a blind individual paved the way for many future adaptations. Superheroes like Marvel's own, who, despite losing his sight in an accident, uses his other senses to become a powerful vigilante. And let's not forget about DC's very own, who also deals with blindness but uses his heightened senses to fight crime. These characters wouldn't exist without Daredevil breaking the mold and showing that superheroes come in all shapes and sizes, both literally and figuratively. So, Timothy, old chap, do you agree that Daredevil left a lasting impact on the world of superheroes and beyond? Are there any other films or TV shows you think were influenced by old horn-rimmed devil himself?
Well said, Thomas. The impact of Daredevil's story transcends just the comic book pages and the silver screen. It's inspiring to see how his journey has influenced generations of artists and storytellers alike. And speaking of journeys, we've come to the end of our own little adventure discussing Daredevil. Timothy, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Yes, Timothy, my dear fellow, I must say that despite the controversy surrounding certain casting choices and plot points overall, both the 2003 film and the Netflix series managed to capture the essence of Daredevil's character. The complexities of Matt Murdock's dual life as a blind lawyer by day and vigilante by night are portrayed with remarkable accuracy. And let's not forget about the electrifying chemistry between Affleck and Garner that sizzled on screen. As for the future of Daredevil, only time will tell where his journey takes him next. But one thing is certain. The legacy of this blindfolded hero will continue to inspire generations of fans and creators alike. So folks, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like this video if you enjoyed our thoughts on Daredevil. We love hearing from our audience. Until next time, stay tuned for more movie discussions, debates, and maybe even some unscripted banter between the two of us. Good night, everyone.